Hey TMFG community, Carlo Cancino here with John Iaconetti, and in today's Ask TMFG episode, we'll be discussing estate planning. This is part 2 of our 2-part series. So if you do like our content, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, provide us with a comment, or just give us a like. In today's episode, it's a continuation of our estate planning video. We'll be discussing the strategies behind having an estate plan in place, and John's going to get us started.
Absolutely. So I actually get us started with what we discussed to kind of summarize what we discussed in our last video. And that was more of the estate planning basics. And that was having a will and power of attorney created, also focusing on listing beneficiaries on the accounts. Relatively straightforward, and really every Canadian, in our opinion, should be looking to have a will or power of attorney. A will being the document after you pass away, giving direct instructions as to how your assets will be distributed. And the power of attorney, which is a living document. So if you were to become mentally incapacitated or unable to act on your own decisions, you can list someone on your behalf to do so.
You mentioned a buzzword earlier, beneficiaries.
Yes.
And I think that's a great segue into the next part of the estate planning process. And that's by trying to reduce the probate fees. So number one, what is a probate fee? Essentially, it's the provincial tax or cost to essentially ensure that the will that you have is the last will and testament for you. So you have to apply to the provincial government to do so, and for doing that, there is a fee assessed on the value of your estate. So I mentioned beneficiary. By having a beneficiary, you can have assets, avoid having to go through the will. Absolutely. And be subject to that probate fee. In Ontario, the fee is 1.5% on the value of your estate of $50,000 or more. So for all intents and purposes, it's 1.5% of the value of the estate. So ideally, in order to get your estate bill, your probate fee small, you try to avoid having assets go through that will. And there are things that you can implement ahead of time, gifting ahead of time, so there's less assets to walk through. Name beneficiaries on all of the accounts that you can. Name beneficiaries on life insurance policies. What else out there can you do?
Well, even having joint accounts. So joint accounts with rights of survivorship does allow, or the avoidance, I guess, of having to go through probate. It would just go to the other joint account owner. But another part, I guess, of the estate is taxation. Yeah. That really does play a role, and each of those different assets are taxed a little bit differently. But some tax planning strategies that people utilize to kind of minimize those tax bills is life insurance. Right, life insurance becomes a really unique tool for people to use, and there's obviously a bunch of different types, but typically more of a permanent policy is the one that's going to be more for the estate. So it's a unique situation, and if it is applicable for you, but if you do end up having a lot of excess assets that are going to flow through the estate anyways in just a general investment account, like an open account or a joint account, you can use that money to fund a life insurance policy, which therefore goes from a taxable investment to a tax-free payout through life insurance.
Let's face it, the CRA is going to get their money. Now, if you want to maximize the value of your net worth that you pass to the next generation, life insurance is a simple way to cover that tax bill that the CRA is going to get. So those are a few strategies to implement to try to minimize probate fees, minimize your tax bill. We're happy to have a conversation with you with more specific questions. Let us know in the comments section. Do you have questions about how to reduce your probate fees or reduce the taxes? We'll get back to you. So that's another episode of Ask TMFG. Again, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, provide us with a comment, or give us a like. Until next time, I'm Carlo Cancino.
I'm John Iaconetti.
And this has been Ask TMFG.